Hello, Soul Crew. Great to see you in another moment of the now. Thank you for your presence. Today's transmission is tough. Yet, as the title says, tough truths make you stronger. And this may not be everybody cups of tea. So remember, if some of these videos don't resonate with you, that's fine. They're not meant for everybody all the time, but for particular members of the crew that may be needing to hear these at this moment in time. They are timeless though. So maybe once you watch a video, you're like, oh, this didn't really resonate. And then something happens, life happens. And then we're like, oh yeah, that one video. So anyways, if this is for you, let's jump right into this. Tough truths. Tough pill to swallow. Yet, a reminder here for the crew and those who are in the quest of the evolution of their souls. We may always choose a tough truth than a soothing lie. Why? Because lies create interest. They're debts for the soul. And they are just temporary fixes. And eventually the truth will come out. It's vibrational. Authenticity is uncorruptible and it's one of the strongest vibrations. So that's the vibration we're working with. That's where we're operating from. If you're working from that currency, everything will fall into place and be authentic. When you're also working with authenticity, everything that is inauthentic will break down and or collapse. Heads up, spoiler alert. That's a tough truth right there. So there will be a couple of those throughout this video. Yet the idea is to recognize the power of truths. And sometimes we want to fix things, or we want to progress, or we want prosperity. And then, like a teacher of mine used to say, there is no healing or progress without truths. So when you choose that you want to heal, or you want to progress, or you want to evolve, a lot of things begin to collapse around you. And that is anything or everything that is not built under the foundation of authenticity. And you begin to see things behind the veil. And you're like, oh, wow, I wanted to heal, but I didn't want to see that. It's like, it's part of the healing process. It's part of the self-awareness journey where you see beyond what meets the eye. And that's the way we develop our intuition, right? Sometimes people are like, but how do you know if that's true or not? Remember, we're not operating here from a rational dimension of what is true or not. It's more like what feels, that vibrates according to your soul or not. Like, this is not like, we're not jumping into like little facts. It's more like the bigger truths. That's what I mean with truths that make you stronger. It's the more existential situations in your life, rather than, is this piece of news true or false? Do you think this did happen or didn't happen? It's like, okay, there's a lot of distractions out there and there's a lot of noise, and some of those are fun for entertainment purposes, as this life's game is. Yet when I talk about like tough truths, is like where sometimes you just want to grow and you feel that something is not working for you, and then you figure out that a close one has been lying behind your back, or they have not had the best intentions for you, or that person at work that you had a suspicion of, yes indeed, they don't have the best interest in your growth, right? There can be different ways. Sometimes we're just like, I just really want to prosper and grow, and then you get fired and you're like, what did that happen? Oh, because you want to grow, and that was not going to happen at that job. So that's why you're going to be presented with other opportunities, or even the opportunity to venture yourself in your own new project. So the importance here is to develop adaptability and become versatile, because again, sometimes the end goal that we desire is not going to be through the road that we want it to be through, right? Like, it's not just like, oh, I want to get there my way. Sometimes it's like, I want to get that vibration, and the universe is like, okay, we're going to fast track you. We're going to get the bullet train. Okay, we're going to collapse every other obstacle in your journey. And some of those may be relationships that you cherished, or opportunities that you've worked for a long time. Like, you're like, oh, I've worked on this for 10 years and now it's just not working. And then I usually tell the person, what are you aspiring to? What are you working right now for, right? Like, and they'll be like, oh, I'm trying to make more money. And I'm like, well, maybe that's not the job opportunity for you if that is not being like as prosperous as you thought it would. Maybe it is, but you have to approach it in a different way. So again, when things are not working your way, that can be tough, and a tough truth to accept, being like, oh, I really wanted to work this. I really wanted this to work. And it may work, just not the way that you're fixating on it right now. Maybe you just have to take another angle, take another perspective, maybe reinvent yourself from within and come out and grab it from the other end. And that's why adaptability and versatility will take you very, very far, especially when it comes to healing and building your strength. It's not necessarily your way, it's the way the vibration goes, right? If I want to be authentic, I'm not necessarily going to be able to make the calls. It's more like pursuing that curiosity and discovering what's authentic, because maybe it's not aligned with what my mind thinks. Sometimes the mind wants to override and the mind wants to control, and the mind says we're going to go this way, and universe is like, yeah, but authenticity is the other way. So you're going to have to drop everything. You're going to have to leave the past behind. You're going to have to leave, you know, the sunken cost, that like, oh, I'm still in it because I've been in it. It's like, that's not necessarily the best approach to have an authentic life. It doesn't mean give up on everything. It means maybe give up on the ways that you've been trying to control the outcome from. So that's a tough truth here. It's like you're gonna have to let go of things that are not working, and nobody's saying give up on them or delete. It's more like leave the past behind, leave the controlling habits behind, or the having that, it is that controlling need of like, I want things to look my way, right? It's more like, well, if you want it to be authentic, then you're gonna have to hang around fake people. You can't be authentic, surround yourself with fake people. Or maybe there's a way there in that paradigm, and maybe you're working through a paradox. So keep us posted on how that's coming. But you see what I mean? Is like we have to be consistent with that North Star we're working towards. And sometimes the North Star means that we have to take a leap, and that means that we have to drop the baggage because we have to travel lighter. So there's progress. Sometimes it looks like letting go, and especially in this case is like you developing a new purpose, changing your attitude, and again leaving the past behind. It doesn't mean I'm gonna drop everything and start a new life in a totally new country. It means more like, again, changing the attitude. Maybe you keep up at the same job, but you approach it in a very different way, much more authentic, instead of people pleasing everybody, and then you get the promotion that you've been looking for, right? Maybe that people pleasing and that fake attitude is not something that is gonna bring new opportunities, and maybe you're very authentic, and then maybe you get fired, and maybe that brings you up to the next activity. But what I mean with this is be adaptable for things to shift while you're strengthening yourself, because if you want to be stronger, your practices are going to change, and then life is going to reflect that back to you. If I get stronger, I'm not going to be evaluated with the same challenges. I'm going to probably have different types of challenges, and it's not like the woo woo me, why always me. It's like, because if not you, then who? Like, don't you want to work on yourself and develop yourself and enjoy life at its fullest without coming from a place of fear or anxiety? So that's what life is trying to do. It's poking you in those areas that are holding you back from being the best version of yourself. And sometimes we're like, but why did they take my pacifier away? And they're like, because your pacifier is holding you back from your potential, and that's like anti-life, right? And we're in this journey of living life. And so life is gonna accommodate things so that we wake up. So these videos are part of it. These are our wake up call. And sometimes I say like the last one, and then we're heading out. Like life is not gonna constantly try to wake you up. There's gonna be a time where it's the last call. So I know this may be like a little bit general, but I just wanted to share, you know, how the tough truths and sometimes the deeper pains have a purpose, and they are meant to make you stronger at the root. And just to be aware that where we're struggling in these ways, it's very important to leave the past behind. How could they do this? How could I do this? How could this happen? It did. It was vibrational. If it was not meant to, it wouldn't have. It's vibrational. It's not personal. So what are you going to do about it? And like I said, reinventing your purpose. Even if you're still within the same relationships and doing the same craft or doing the same job, there's an opportunity there to change your attitude and change the way you approach it. And the tough truths is not just out or in, it's also inside. It's like, what truths are you avoiding? Are you holding yourself back from being your truthful self, from being honest with yourself about things that are not working anymore in your life and that you really need to shift and change? Like that old pair of socks? maybe that's the case. Maybe it's something else. Maybe it's something a little bit bigger than that. But you get the point. And for this, and for you to stay in track, keep the eyes on the horizon. Keep the eyes on the future success that you've been working for, because it's actually right here. And I know that sounds cheesy, but it's very crazy. Once we begin to let the past go and we begin to really focus our energies on the present moment, you begin to see things for what they truly are. Not a facade of the past, not an illusion of the future, but just like the present moment. And sometimes there's housekeeping, and that's why we don't want to do the homework, we don't want to do the dishes, so we'd rather look into the future or look into the past, like when the dishes were not dirty, or into the future when they're clean. It's like, no, yeah, but it's also important to assess that right now they're dirty and they need to be cleaned. And I'm not just talking about the dishes, I'm talking about mindsets, I'm talking about behaviors, I'm talking about relationships, anything in your life that needs that deeper end housekeeping. And especially because throughout the journey of strengthening yourself, the key to staying adaptable and versatile is to also learn how to hold your vision through delays. Like, I know you want this thing, or you're working through this, or you want this done, yet there's processes. There's the universe and the energies coming into place and organizing so that the highest outcome for the evolution of your soul may unfold. And this sometimes looks like obstacles or delays. And sometimes things go a little bit off from what we wanted to. So then we give up and we're like, oh, that's not for me, or that didn't work. Or you see, I tried and they still did this, or I tried and then I got fired, or I tried and it didn't work my way. And I was like, what if that was just a little bit of a delay so that things could turn out into a much better outcome? What if we were able to really commit to ourselves and hold our vision through the delays? So I invite you to do that by, again, not falling into the traps of the past or avoiding the tough truths, but strengthening yourself. I mean, like, yeah, just like when you exercise and you hold a pose, or you hold, if you're like weightlifting or whatever you're doing, and sometimes you have to kind of hold it there in order to build the resilience and build the muscle and build the adaptability, right? Going all the way back to, and in this case, we're talking about character development. So holding your vision through the delays, it's what really strengthens you across adversity, that being tough truths that sometimes we've been avoiding, or we just didn't want to admit to ourselves because they're too painful. And at the same time, we get stronger through adversity, we get stronger through the pain. And that's how we really develop a strong character in this game, because nobody's going to do it for you. Nobody's going to, from this perspective, again, we're always open to miracles and divine interventions, but nobody cares more about you than you should. And it's just a fact, because otherwise this would be a very unbalanced and dysfunctional game, right? Like, that's why we all come in with the capacity to get ourselves out of whatever we got ourselves into. We get here to be of support to others, but nobody can change others. We can't change others. Others change themselves. We can be a spark of inspiration. We can set up our own pace and enlighten the path maybe for others, just like others are doing it for us. But at the same time, we're solely responsible for our attitude, for how versatile we are to change, and how open we are to truths. And like I said, they are the best exercise for the soul. You can start within yourself, and I can guarantee you'll see it ripple throughout your life. At some point, I really embraced brutal honesty with myself, and I really pushed my boundaries to a place of discomfort, really, because I was just like soothing myself with maybe this will happen, or maybe, and then when I started being brutally honest, it started reflecting in my environment, and even people came to me being like, hey, I really need to tell you something. I've been lying to you for months. I was like, okay, I didn't expect it to come out this way, but I tell you, like, once you start emitting a truthful honesty, a vibration, it ripples back. And there's one of two ways. People will either fade out of your life because they're unable to navigate you truthfully, or they'll be very truthful and upfront with you. And as empowering this is and strengthening, it can still hurt. So here's where I'm not like gonna sugarcoat it, because it can be very painful, but at the same time, it's one of those tears that really builds up more character. And then you just vibrate higher, you just feel stronger, you just vibrate into more authenticity. So I can tell you that it's worth it, and nobody regrets being brave and standing in their authenticity, because it's the vibration, one of the vibrations that pays off the most. And just as reminders here, remember, this is a perspective, this is for entertainment purposes. We are never working here with absolute truths. Like, mind you, we're talking about truths in an existential way that help you evolve your soul. We're not talking about absolute truths. That's not my field. We're not here to say what is right and what is wrong. We're here to expand our consciousness, to evolve our perspective, and pursue the truth that I understand as authentic. Is this authentic? or has this been inverted, right? Or has this been twisted? That's more when I'm talking about truths. It's not like, oh, their truth versus my truth. Like we're not there. We're all in under the same dimension when it comes to the evolution of your soul. And there's truths that promote the evolution of our soul, and there are inversions of truth that work from a place of manipulation or fear, right? Or anxiety, or like inversion. So that's what I mean when I'm talking about truths. I'm not talking like I'm right, you're wrong, we're gonna impose here over other people, because more than one truth can coexist within the same space, even if they're different. And that's the beauty of expanding ourselves from this dual polarity of like, they're right, so that means that I have to be wrong, or if I'm right, that means that they have to be wrong. It's like, what if it's both, all and none, right? Instead of this dual mentality, is like we recognize our multidimensionality, and it can be true, false, both, and neither, right? There can be two truths at the same time and coexist if we have the versatility and the flexibility to see the higher moral ground, where two authentic people can be very different yet both very authentic. Just as a side note, to be on the same page with regards to truths, understanding them as a form of authenticity more than absolute truths and facts, and like diving into, you know, what creates more division than not. So we're taking here the higher moral ground, leaving the past in the past. Thank you so much for joining me in these quests and explorations into the evolution of the soul. I really appreciate your presence, and I will see you in another moment of the now.